A Florida hairstylist was recently stabbed to death inside a parking garage of an apartment complex. This was by a 280-pound suspect with a steak knife. 27-year-old Haley Hosford, who is pictured here, had reportedly just stepped out of a rental car. This was on this past Wednesday at the Retreat at Sawgrass Village, which is reportedly in Sunrise. A man then ran towards her vehicle and opened the door, and then he fatally stabbed her for absolutely no reason at all. In the process of all of this, her male friend was also injured. The suspect is 21-year-old Jackson Julian Sagasi, and he was eventually arrested and booked into the Broward County Jail, and this was on charges of murder and attempted murder. Reportedly, after his Miranda rights were read, he bragged to police saying, "I just killed someone and walked away." So it was said that just after 1:30 a.m. on Wednesday morning, Haley and her male friend arrived at the parking garage of an apartment complex. They were in a rented Mercedes. Haley reportedly remained in the car for a few minutes while her friend ran inside the apartment, and they were planning to leave shortly after the male friend came back outside. A friend reportedly told local news outlets that the male friend was going inside to grab some stuff, and then he was planning to take Haley home after that. However, as Haley was waiting on her friend to come out to the car, surveillance footage from that parking garage showed Jackson, the suspect, walking up to the car. He was holding a metal object that was said to be reflecting light in his hand. Haley was completely unaware of what was about to happen, so she began to step outside of the vehicle only to see that Jackson, the suspect, was approaching the driver's side of the vehicle. She then panicked and tried to get back into the vehicle. That was in order to protect herself and to get away from the suspect. She didn't know. But he then forced himself inside the car before she had the chance to shut the door and lock it. Within seconds, there was a violent struggle between the two of them, and surveillance footage showed the suspect making repeated stabbing motions inside the vehicle. Her male friend then came out of the apartment just moments later, and he confronted Jackson, the suspect, and then Jackson got out of the car. The two men then got into a violent altercation, and that resulted in Jackson, the suspect, stabbing the man in his throat. He is so lucky to be alive. It was said the friend was wounded but survived and managed to escape, and he quickly called authorities for help as soon as he was able to. Then, after attacking the male friend, the suspect reportedly went back to the vehicle and he tried to flee the scene in that rental car, but he couldn't get it to move, luckily. According to reports, security footage also showed the suspect walking around and searching the area. That was like he was looking for any evidence that he might have left behind before he left the garage. Before police arrived to the scene, a resident called to report someone dead lying on the ground in the parking garage. When officers got there, they found Haley unresponsive, and she was suffering from several stab wounds to her neck and throat. She was pronounced deceased at 2:01 a.m. The friend was then taken to a local hospital for treatment. Reportedly, apartment employees were able to identify Jackson, the suspect, from the security footage, and they provided police with his home or his apartment that he reportedly shared with his mom, and it was in that complex. When cops got to his apartment that he shared with his mom, he was still wearing the same clothes as seen in the footage. When detectives searched his apartment, they also reportedly found blood smeared on the back door, and they discovered that 2 kitchen knives that matched the description of the murder weapon were missing. He was then arrested, and as I said earlier, he started bragging about just walking away after he had just killed someone. Unreal. Now, it was said that his statements to authorities were mostly inconsistent, but he claimed that he was walking to the gym when he saw the rented Mercedes car in the garage with its lights still on. He told police he tried to call 911 about the suspicious vehicle, but he didn't have his phone. So he instead returned to his apartment and got a knife, and he said he did that for personal protection. Yeah, right. In other words, he was trying to claim self-defense, but he could not specify any threat that would justify his actions. He was reportedly charged with premeditated murder and attempted first-degree murder, and he remains in jail with no bail, luckily. Police are calling this just a random attack. Reportedly, Haley was a hairstylist based out of Fort Lauderdale. Her loved ones have described her as an expert stylist and entrepreneur. She was the owner of the beauty salon in Fort Lauderdale, and she was also a teacher and an ambassador for a yoga and retreat company. She was sure beautiful and successful at such a young age. She had her whole future ahead of her. This is just so tragic and senseless. My prayers go out to all of her loved ones, and I pray that that idiot suspect spends the rest of his life behind bars like he deserves, and so that justice can be served. For more true crime, be sure to follow and subscribe over on YouTube.